powers are legendary. Their origins are unknown. Their methods are extreme.
And the game is on.
LXG, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Alright guys, welcome to the Week 13 preview show. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, of course, we're bringing back the flashcards because everyone loves flashcards. So here we go, our 6 feet in the ground bracket. As you can tell, that's about the same group. We just added a couple new names, so we had to turn the card over because we added too many names. But the key here is that at least one of these teams on the top here, at least one of them, and quite possibly two of them, will be able to make the consolation bracket and join the first pick Royal Rumble. While all these teams have a chance to make it to the Royal Rumble and to fight for the first pick of the draft, one team has already been thrown over the top rope, and that would be Yay Boys in Spandex. But this weekend, she does get a chance to go all Ted DiBiase and sneak up on the side of the mat and pull someone else off the rope with her. And that would be Chicago Bears. In this game, Kristen will have hope with Wilson and Thielen, and hope they can keep their great games going this year as Wilson hosts Philly and Thielen goes to Atlanta. Both of these games have sneaky shootout appeal, but could also be ugly affairs as they are matchups of four of the best teams playing right now. Tree will hope that her first pick, Larry Fitzgerald, makes some noise as the Rams visit the desert, and that Mariota will finally show some of the promise he had last year versus Houston. I think this one will come down to the running backs, and all of them have playable matchups. For Kristen, she has Lamar Miller at Tennessee and Marshawn Lynch hosting the Giants. I could see both of them breaking double digits, especially the Giants going away from Eli. Not sure how much those players are going to show up to play for their coach. For Tree, she has Isaiah Crow at the LA Chargers, Alex Collins versus Detroit, and Carlos Hyde at Chicago. Hyde is currently on the bench, but I could see all of them ending up about the same score, so it really shouldn't make a difference either way. And I think they'll all end up in the low teens. I picked the A-Boys in Spandex to get the upset and to pull the Chicago Bears over the top rope and join her outside the Royal Rumble. My call for this game is that 4 of the 5 running backs I just mentioned will crack into double digits. We do have one matchup this week between two of our bottom teams as Carlos takes on Kneecaps. In this game, a loss for the Kneecaps will end their hopes of joining the Royal Rumble, and a win for Carlos could put him right in the thick of things and almost lock him into the consolation bracket with a chance to fight for that first pick. But let's go to Josh for a closer look at this matchup.
All right, folks, it's Week 13, and that means there's only 2 weeks left in the regular season. Still some jockeying for playoff positioning going on here, so let's get right to these matchups. My first one is Carlos going up against Kneecaps. Carlos projected to win in this one by just 1 point, with a projected point total of 81 to Kneecaps 80. On the Kneecap side of the ball, a couple tough matchups. One for his quarterback, Matt Ryan, going up against that stout Minnesota Vikings defense. Could struggle in that matchup. Also, Marvin Jones Jr., who's been really hot of late, had a really good week last week, but they see him going up against Baltimore, and Baltimore's defense is also very good. So some tough matchups there. I do like the Marquise Lee play going up against Indy this week. Indy has a really bad defense, and that Jacksonville offense has been pretty good. Blake Bortles playing well of late, so could see some good points there. For me, the matchup here, it really hinges on the running backs, and I think that Carlos has got a decided advantage. He's got Dion Lewis going up against Buffalo. Dion Lewis has seen his production, kind of level off. You get, 10 to 15 carries a game, 3 to 4 targets a game. I think that's good. And Buffalo's had a really bad rush defense since trading away Marcel Darius. And then Leonard Fournette, I mentioned how bad the Indy defense was earlier. I think Jacksonville leans heavily on their run game in this one, so Fournette could see a really big day. And on the backs of those two running backs, I see Carlos taking the victory here in Week 13.
All right, nice work, Josh. Now again, the rest of this list here, it's time to play spoiler, guys. Get your lineup set, get ready, and we're going to touch on those matchups in a second. You want to come on over? All right, come on. Go up. Yeah. We're doing Daddy's a preview show. You want to hold this one? This is the Living in the Red card. And it's only got one person. There's only one person this week who can actually get killed. Only one person that could have their playoff dreams crushed and destroyed. And that is Chi-Town B-Town, who, even after his horrible start of the season, has climbed himself back into the playoff race. Well, the edge of the playoff race, as you can tell. And this week, he will need to get the win to stay alive. And in that game, he will be playing Joski, who a week after stumbling and losing by 2 points to Bagadikas, will now have a chance to bring someone else down with him into the ground and end Josh's season. Alright, in this game, for Joski, you really have to know, all you really have to really worry about is Detroit is at Baltimore. Say it again. Detroit is at Baltimore, which means half of Joski's squad is going to be playing up against one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL right now. But it's not all bleak because the Detroit Lions' running offense is pretty much Matthew Stafford's arm. So he's still going to get his 300 yards. But just like 2 weeks ago when Joe needed a couple points to get a win, Stafford threw for over 400 yards, but still couldn't get a touchdown. So if he is healthy in zone again, this could spell demise for Joe. But if he can get his 300 yards and get at least one touchdown, it could give him a chance. And the Ravens' defense may be great, but Joe Flacco has been garbage, man. And that offense has been horrible. Collins is banged up, and he's known to fumble. So I could see Detroit Lions defense getting a score, at least getting some turnovers. So they can put up a nice score as well. So we'll have to see what happens there. He also has Sammy Watkins versus Patrick Peterson. I know he's playing, the Cardinals, but it doesn't make a difference. He's going to have to line up against Patrick Peterson most of the day, and that's not going to be good news for him. Patrick Peterson's a shutdown corner if there is one in the league, and I don't see Sammy Watkins making much noise. Where Joe's really going to have to get some points from to get this W is from A.J. Green versus Pittsburgh. He's going to need A.J. Green to have a really good day for him to have any chance to get in the win. For Chi-Town Beatdown, it's going to come down to one big game for him, really. It's going to be the Carolina at New Orleans matchup. He has 4 of his biggest spots going in that game, with his quarterback Cam Newton, his wide receiver Devin Funchess, his other wide receiver Michael Thomas, and his big running back Mark Ingram. He's going to need that game to be a shootout to lock down and get the sure win. And many people think it is. Many experts out there are saying, this is going to be a shootout, high-scoring game. I think even Vegas has it a pretty good number. But I just don't know, man. It's an interdivisional rivalry. These teams know each other. They know their tendencies. And that Saints defense has gotten better this year. The Carolina defense is still the Carolina defense. They got a great pass rush. They got a great defensive line. So I'm not sold on this shootout yet. But we'll see what happens. If it's a high-scoring affair, Josh will lock down the win easily. If it's a low-scoring game, we're going to have a little matchup on our hands here. And then it's going to come down to the rest of Josh's lineup, which is kind of a bad spot for him. Right now, our Mark Cooper's already been ruled out for the week. Jamal Williams, who was a hot start last week and was looking good for this week, may have Aaron Jones to deal with if he comes back from injury this week, which will cut into his workload maybe a lot, because we really don't know what's going to happen if Aaron Jones comes back. Who's going to be the lead running back? How healthy he's going to be? So we'll have to see what happens there. But in this matchup, I did pick Chi-Town B-Town to get the win. And my call for this game is that I think Cher will be singing for one of these teams this week. Don't know quite who or how it's going to happen, but I got a gut feeling that Cher is going to be singing a little song for one of you guys this week. All right, our next lovely flashcard is the In the Passing Lane. That's right. So, as you can see, we have two teams, again, still stuck in the passing lane with the Dirty Slovaks and Adamas Llamas looking to jump up into the playoffs. One thing to keep in mind, Dirty Slovaks, regardless of what happens this week or next week, will be guaranteed a spot in one of the two brackets to have a chance either for the championship or for the first round, for the first pick of the draft. Adamas Llamas does not have that guarantee, so he'll still have to get at least one more win to make himself a lock for one of the brackets. Adama will have a matchup versus one of our bottom teams this week, so we'll try to avoid the upset spoiler alert again this week. While Dirty Slovaks will have a chance to make his own magic and actually do his own passing while he has a chance to knock out one of our top two teams. For a more in-depth look at these two matchups, let's go to Josh.
And in my next Week 13 matchup here, I got the Adamas Llamas, who currently sit in 6th place, going up against Excuses Start Soon. Llamas expected to win this one with a total of 93-80 for the Excuses. A couple tough matchups on the Llamas squad this week. LaShawn McCoy going against New England. McCoy's really their only big weapon there, so I see New England's defense scheming to take him out of the game, but you're going to get guaranteed use there. The guy's going to see 20-plus touches and probably 5 to 6 targets, so floor remains there, but could have a hard time hitting his ceiling this week. Also, Kareem Hunt, who that Chiefs offense has been, I don't know, it's been very blah the last few weeks here, and Hunt just not getting the production that we saw earlier in the season. But maybe this is a get-right spot for him as he goes up against the New York Jets. On the excuses side of the ball, DeAndre Hopkins, who despite having bad quarterback play is still holding his own in the fantasy world, and he's going up against a pretty weak Tennessee defense this week, so it could be some good points for excuses there. Also, Cooper Kupp, with Robert Woods out, he's going to see a few more targets, and maybe he hits the end zone. He's going up against Arizona. And then Drew Brees at the quarterback position. There's a big NFC South matchup there with New Orleans going up against Carolina. Playoff implications for those two teams. I think that has got shootout potential. So could be some big points out of Drew Brees. But on the Llama side, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is as matchup proof as it comes, going up against, I said, a bad Buffalo defense, and he could see 4 or 5 touchdown game this week. So advantage goes to the Llamas there. Also playing Zach Ertz now. I know they're going up into Seattle, but Seattle's defense is not what it once was. And the Eagles' offense is really humming, and a lot of that goes through Zach Ertz, so I like that matchup there as well. And on the backs of those two guys, I think that Llamas pulls out the victory, needing a victory this week to stay alive in the playoff hunt, and I think he gets it done here in Week 13. All right, and in my last matchup for the Week 13 preview show here in the Fantasy League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, we have what I think is one of the more interesting matchups of the week. We have the OG Billy Witch Doctor team currently sitting in 2nd place, going up against the Dirty Slovaks, who sit in 5th place and do have a real shot at still making the playoffs here. A win this week over OG Billy Witch Doctor would go a long way. Let's look at this matchup a little bit. OG Billy Witch Doctor has Jared Goff at the quarterback position. Goff's been real good of late. That Rams offense is good. Going up against Arizona. Arizona's defense is middle of the road. I don't know how many points are going to be scored here in this game. Drew Stanton looks to be pretty good at quarterback for Arizona. So, Goff, if it gets to be a shootout here, Goff's points could go way above his 16 projected points for this week. Julio Jones, who had the monster of all monster fantasy weeks last week, gets a much tougher draw this week as they're going up against Minnesota. That's a big NFC game there, but I think that Julio Jones probably gets shadowed by Xavier Rhodes for most of the day, so I think you'll have to temper your expectations for Julio after last week's big blow up there. Jeremy puts Robbie Anderson back into the starting lineup this week, which I think is a good move. Guy's got 6 touchdowns in 5 games going up against a pretty soft Kansas City Chiefs defense. Jets playing just good enough not to be like super bad. And they're winning some games, and Josh McCown to Robbie Anderson is a big part of that. So look for Robbie Anderson to have a big day on Sunday. On the Slovak side, one of the hottest quarterbacks in fantasy, Carson Wentz, really has that Eagles offense humming. They go up into Seattle. Wentz projected for 20 this week, and I think he gets there. They're doing it, in all ways. Running game, passing game. The Zach Ertz to Carson Wentz to Zach Ertz has really been a good matchup, and I think he scores maybe 2 touchdowns this week. So I like Wentz a lot this week going into Seattle. Probably one of my favorite plays from the Slovaks is Davante Adams going up just a terrible Tampa Bay secondary. Davante Adams has emerged as the favorite target for Brett Hundley. Brett Hundley looked a lot better last week. That whole offense looked a lot better going up against a really good Pittsburgh team last Sunday night. And I think Davante Adams way outscores his projected 10 for the week. If he hits the end zone, you could see as much as 20 points from Davante Adams. And of course, 2 heavy hitters here, Le'Veon Bell going against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's run defense is pretty good, but it doesn't matter. It's Le'Veon Bell. He's going to get his 30 touches, whether those are all on the ground, some through the air. The guy's just a monster. So I expect a big game from him. And then also Gronky Kong. Gronk going back to his hometown of Buffalo. He's had great success when playing in Buffalo. I think 6 touchdowns in 5 total games, including 2 touchdown game in his rookie year. I think that Patriots offense is just killing people right now, and Gronk's a big part of that. He's healthy, he's active, and one of the favorite red zone targets for Tom Brady. So I think Gronk has a big day as well. And I think that's enough firepower to give Slovaks the win here. As I said earlier, Slovak sitting in 5th place, so if he could take down number 2 here, that'll move him up in the standings and put him in prime position to make a playoff run here in these last 2 weeks. Well, that's it for the Week 13 previews. Good luck, everybody, if you're still in the running. Some of us are just playing for pride at this point, so have fun with it, and let's get it going here in these last 2 weeks.
All right, and here we go. Our last little lovely card. The currently in. Green is going to the championship bracket. But subject to change, of course. Right now we have the Barbarians in the 1 spot. OG Billy Witch Doctor in the 2 spot. Nuzzy Futz in the 3rd spot with plenty of points. And Bagadicka's in the 4th spot with not so many points. So we'll have to see what happens here. And we just touched on the OG Billy Witch Doctor game versus Dirty Slovaks. But we have one game here where it's going to be a spoiler alert, which is the Barbarians versus High Maneuver. Let's jump into that one real fast. In the game, High Maneuver versus Barbarians. After Thursday's game, Craig is projected to win by 14 points, 92-78. As Ben had blah games from Cousins and Crowder on Thursday that may have sunk his spoiler chances. But he had Dez Bryant finally found the end zone on Thursday, so there is still hope. A lot of his chances fall on his pair of Henrys, with Hunter Henry in a good spot versus Cleveland, and Derrick Henry may be getting some work if Tennessee can close the door on Houston early in the game. Though Houston was one of the top running defenses in the league, which is why my call for this game is actually that Austin Eckler, who is currently on Ben's bench, will outscore Derrick Henry this week. For the Barbarians, it's all about them Chargers, baby. The Chargers versus the Browns this weekend. He has Phillip Rivers as his quarterback going. That could be an easy 25, maybe even 30 points. Should be an easy day for Phillip Rivers. He should eat healthy. And he also has those San Diego Chargers defense. Thanks to someone who was smart enough to know that they were going to be playing the Cleveland Browns in Week 15 and talk Craig into picking them up. But those two should put him in a really nice spot to get the win, but he's still going to need some help from his other pieces. And again, the 2 of the bigger games in real life that are going to have a big influence in his game are the Steelers at Bengals game, which could be ugly. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. So Antonio Brown, Joe Mixon, I could see them as having blah games, kind of like Kirk Cousins and Jamison Crowder on Thursday. Nothing too exciting. And he also has the two people going in the Panthers versus Saints game with Ginn and Kamara. As I said in the earlier preview, I'm not sold on this being a shootout. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, if it's a shootout, Kamara, we know will have a good day. He's been killing it the last 5 weeks. So if it's a shootout, he will feast. But if it's a slow-scoring game, Kamara and Ginn, again, two big players, not high-efficiency players, will struggle the most, and it could open the door for Heinrich to get the upset. He also has Landry versus Denver, which is, I think it may be close. But I think with Jared Cook, Craig's tight end, going to the dreamiest of tight end matchups this year as he faces off against the Giants and their douche of a coach, I think Jared Cook will put up a big enough game to get Craig the win and to pull him to 10 victories and guarantee his spot in the playoffs. And our last matchup, the one's going to allow one of our passing lane teams to actually get themselves on this beautiful green card that you see in front of you here, is the matchup between Nuzzy Futz and Bag of Ditkas. A 3 versus 4 seed in week 13 is great. I mean, that's what we live for in fantasy football, man. Late season matchups between two playoff teams is going to be great. And the realistic thing here is with Nuzzy Futz having his point lead, if he loses this game, it's not the end of the world. He'll still actually probably be in the fourth spot. But if Steven loses this game with his low point score, he's going to be dangerously close to not making the playoffs. In this matchup, the Bag of Dickas versus Nuzzy Futz, there's a projected score of 82-96, making Aaron the 14-point favorite. For the Bag of Dickas, he has Derek Carr versus the Giants, which sounds great until you remember that Crabtree and Amari Cooper are out this week, and he'll be throwing to his third and fourth and fifth receivers, which that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Making his 15-point projection just about right. He has Melvin Gordon versus Cleveland. Also sounds great. But then you remember, Cleveland has a sneaky good run defense, and Melvin Gordon has actually been horribly inefficient the last couple weeks. So that's not really a locked-in high score. The one place that Dickas could break through their projections is at wide receivers, with Julio Jones putting a lot of coverage off of Sanu, giving a chance to make some noise. Zay Jones and the Bills trying to keep up with the Patriots' high-scoring offense, and Sterling Shepard being the only show in town in the big city. One particular game that could swing this matchup is the Atlanta versus Minnesota game, with Steven playing on Atlanta's defense, while Aaron is putting Case Keenum in his lineup. While I am still not on the Case Keenum hype train, he is playing great ball, and at this point you have to start him over Alex Smith. Aaron got a lot of love in the draft review show for his wide receivers, and they could pay off huge here in week 13, with Brandon Cooks at Buffalo in a soft matchup, Keenan Allen in a plus matchup versus Cleveland, and Steven Diggs going to Atlanta. He also has Kyle Rudolph in the same game playing for the Vikings versus Atlanta. So there's a lot riding on the Vikings at Falcons matchup, with his quarterback, tight end, a wide receiver, and his opposing defense on Steven's team all involved in that game. But either that game goes a little sour, a little off track, he has a nice backup plan for Jordan Howard getting the best running back matchup of the year versus San Francisco, where he should break his projections of 12 points. I picked Nuzzy Futz to get the win, and my call is that while I think we may see a clean sweep in this game of positions, quarterback to quarterback, running back to running back, wide receiver to wide receiver, tight end to tight end, we may get a clear sweep every position in this game. I'm not going to call that. I think Kelsey, even though the Chiefs look horrible, he might somehow break a tackle for like 80 yards. So I'm going to call that the Nuzzy Futz will beat the Bag of Dickas in 7 of the 9 position spots. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the preview pick'em show. Now, double check those lineups, check those questionable tags. We got a couple of them. Christian McCaffrey, Greg Olsen for me. I don't even remember, man. There's a lot of people. Alex Collins for you, Tree. A lot of people are questionable this week, so you know, double check in the morning, plug in the players you got on the bench, do what you do, try to get those wins, and good luck, guys.